This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mayor Chris Yu, and we're here for the regular council meeting of December 22nd. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to everyone. We are going to start right now, and then I'll give a bit of the rules when we get into public hearings. So we're going to be doing a bit of a hybrid. It's online as well as in person this evening. Council will be voting with their show of hands tonight. Mr. Steele, are you going to? No, I'll be the one reading it out if it's in favor or not, or defeat or not. Sorry. So I'll be the one reading it aloud if it's defeated or carried. Having said that, we will go to item number 1, meeting called to order. Do I have a mover? Councillor Mamchuk, second. Councillor Clayton. All those in favor? That's carried. Item 2, adoption of the agenda. Do I have a mover? Councillor Belanger, second. Councillor Felcher. Thank you. Sorry, we opened that meeting at 7:02 p.m. Mr. CEO. I ask that we change the agenda order and jump right into public hearings, 6.1.2, if council's okay with that change. And then once the public hearings are done, we will go back to regular agenda order. Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried. So we are jumping right to 6.1.2. So the rules for the public hearing this evening is, as chair, I will limit it to a 10-minute delegation per individual. I'll also be making sure that we're not keeping on the same path and being repetitious in what we're talking about. So I ask that you do keep that in mind if you are the next participant up. If there's already been something that's been discussed, please refrain from speaking on it again. 10 minutes, and then I will call someone, those wishing to speak in person. If there's anyone here in person, they'll speak, and then those wishing to speak online. At that time, I will ask that you turn off your microphone, turn on your video camera, and please state your name for the record, and then I'll ask you to continue. And then we'll be doing that for in favor or against, as well as reading anything that was received by email or mail. And then after that, we will do another round for one last call or any clarification we might need. And then I will close the public hearing, and then council will debate and discuss. So once I close the public hearing, I do ask that anyone online, please mute your microphones, turn off your cameras, because that's council's time to discuss what's about to take place, which is the vote. It's not the public's time for interaction or engagement. Seeing as how I've covered all the rules, I will go to item 6.1.2, C38, 2021 Valley Fiber, St. Agatha Tower.
Your Worship, C38, 2021 could also be combined with the variation V19, 2021. It all is part and parcel to the same lands and the same proposal. So the conditional use C38, 2021 is to allow a 195 telecommunications tower in the Parks and Rec zone, and the variation 19-2021 is to vary the height of a telecommunications tower from 49.9 feet to 195 feet. In both situations, notices were sent out according to the Planning Act to landowners within 100 meters of said property, as well as sent to the McDonald Reach-Out Planning District, the Public Works Manager, Building Inspector, Councillors, CO, and Fire Chief. Was posted as well at the Case Provencher in St. Agatha and the Banner Cheyenne in St. Agatha, as well as posted on the municipal board in the office here, and as well as the municipal website. A Connect message was also sent to all the residents in St. Agatha, whoever is signed up on Connect, on December 17th.
Thank you. I'll open the public hearing at 7:05 p.m. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor in person? There's no one wishing to speak in favor in person. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor online? Is there anything received in favor?
Yes. There is a letter from the St. Agatha Community Development Corporation in support for both proposals in regards to C38 and V19. regarding the telecommunication tower. Senegat Community Development Corp. is in full support of Valley Fiber's limited conditional use and variation. Access to fiber optic and high-speed internet was identified as a primary need for all residents in the community of Senegat and surrounding area. To date, many of our town residents have benefited from fiber optic network service Valley Fiber has provided. With the construction of this telecommunication tower, our rural residents, farmers, businesses, and Riel Park, Cheyenne Recreational Park will now be able to benefit from high-speed internet, as those areas are not supported by fiber optic network services. This will be the final piece in meeting the needs of our many rural residents deserve and require. That's everything. That is true.
Thank you. Okay, I will move on. Is there anyone wishing to speak against in person? Come on up, please. Just at the table here, okay. And you can keep your mask on, or you can remove it. The choice is yours. Once seated.
Yes.
Sorry, we're doing in persons first. I'll ask you to please mute your microphone. Just your name for the record, please.
Sure, I will take it. It'll be easier. My name is Lisa Stretch.
Thank you.
First name? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So like I said, my name is Lisa Stretch. My family and myself have been living in Senegat since 2002. We've been actively involved in many key projects within our community to move our community forward. As a long-standing resident of Senegat who would be directly impacted by the change in the tower, I am opposing the variance, both for the use of the green space as well as the change in the tower height from 49 feet to 195 feet. I did submit a letter to the council, so I will go through some of those points and then just provide a little bit of additional information. I do feel that Valley Fiber has failed to provide adequate communication to the community on a few different key points. I believe that this information is critical to the residents, not only within the 100-meter radius, but also within the community in general, because this information would allow residents to make better decisions and, in fact, ask better questions. And without that information, I don't think that we've done our due diligence in informing the community of potential impacts of the change. So one of those things I believe is that the Valley Fiber has not provided clarification on the lighting that would be required on the tower, specifically the intensity, color, and pattern of that lighting. So what I mean by that is how bright the light is, if it's yellow versus red, if it's flashing versus consistent, right? All of those things are going to impact you not only during the day, but specifically at night. Within the variance, we've also failed to provide information on the type of technology that the tower would be using. And so specifically, Valley Fiber has failed to specify if they're using cellular spectrum versus point to multi-point technology or microwave technology. They need to be using some sort of spectrum, and they fail to indicate both on the short-term and long-term plans of what would be involved on this tower. In addition, we have not specified the total square footage of green space that would be required for installation of the tower. The particular parcel of land that is sectioned off in the notification does not provide square footage. Once the sale of that land is completed, our ability to influence the use of that land and reduce the reduction of green space is limited. So there's nothing to limit Valley Fiber from taking the remaining green space in that land and then turning into multi-use commercial based on that land. All of those specifically will impact the property values of the residents living in the area. There is, I went down a Google hole, full disclosure, and so the overwhelming market value tends to be what is impacted by these types of towers. In some studies, anywhere from between a 2 and 21% decline in market value. And so that is a distinct definition between market value and property value. Our estimated property values are done by the municipality, which we pay our taxes on, and those don't tend to be impacted, but the market value or the value to people who would be wanting to purchase your home is impacted. These properties with this green space have been well coveted in the community for many years. I know that, quite frankly, I have people who would be willing to leave the new development to purchase my property because of the green space and the mature trees that surround that. In addition, I would say that, you know, there is multiple commercial land developments that are available to Valley Fiber to pursue its business interests. Again, a tower of this height can be used for many different things. Because Valley Fiber has not specified what technology they're using or the impacts of that technology, so a tower of 195 feet is also considered to be infrastructural in nature, so it's connecting multiple towers together to build Valley Fiber's business across southern Manitoba. I don't feel that it is the requirement of the residents in that area to help secure more network for Valley Fiber. If Valley Fiber has the capital to do that, they can do that using commercial space to do that. In addition, we don't know what communities or geographical regions would benefit from an increase in tower heights. That's been left silent, and I believe that's on purpose. In addition, Canada does have current framework for mandatory antenna tower and site sharing for all providers. So that's both telecommunications providers, radio providers across the board. That is an industry recommendation through Industry Canada. There's been no justification from Valley Fiber or from Rochelle why we failed to follow Industry Canada recommendations for mandatory tower sharing. In addition, once this tower is built, Valley Fiber will be required to follow those mandatory tower recommendations, which means they can enter leases with other larger providers to rent out that tower space, again, at the cost of residents. So although you may approve a 190-foot tower today for a specific technology use, Valley Fiber will have the requirement through Industry Canada to share that tower space, which then includes different uses of technology. So we then get into the debate of whether or not we're using cell phone technology or what spectrum you're going on, and the potential, again, depending on who you read, the health benefits associated with having that in residential areas and close to communities, schools, that type of thing. And so for all of those reasons, I am, seeking the council's support in declining the variances for both the use of the green space as well as the increase in tower height. I know that they do currently have, trying to think of the property on that parcel of land. I know that it is a point of contention for residents already. The lighting is a lot, to say the least. So if you haven't been by that area, I would say for the people who live directly behind or in front of it, depending on how you want to think of it, it would be equivalent to having someone's brights on coming through your back windows 24 hours a day. I don't think that level of lighting is required. So I would also look for the council's support in actively negotiating with Valley Fiber to have a change in lighting on that structure to help reduce the light impacts from that. In addition, because that land has already been given to Valley Fiber for some sort of use, I would really encourage the council to include provisions within that agreement with Valley Fiber to ensure that Valley Fiber does not have the ability to take the parcel of land and further reduce the green space associated with it. So written provisions, including specifications for general commercial purpose, and the amount of green space that's allowed to be used for what is already approved.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Council, do you have any questions, comments?
Yes, I have a question for Ms. Ms. Surratt. Thank you for appearing in front of us, for starters. It's definitely your right to come up here, and we appreciate that. So, through the regulatory process, through Industry Canada, there's a time where you're able to consult with the applicant, Valley Fiber. Were you able to do that? I mean, you've got some very valid questions there that it seems like you're still looking for answers on. So
yeah, I did approach Valley Fiber initially and did not receive responses. Back when 18 plus months ago, I want to say, in regards to why they were not participating in tower sharing. At the time, I want to say that there was existing towers on Highway 75, but I would need to check the dates. Some of those have been dismantled, but the actual sites are still there.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, do we know if anyone from Valley Fiber is going to be on?
I saw Tim Peters was on there and Conley Keller as well, Tim. Yeah, so they all come around and ask if they want to make comment.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Janine, you were gonna do?
Yeah, just about the green space, I'm just looking on the map, it's hard to see with our aerial views, and I'm not 100% familiar with that area, I'll admit. Is it generally green space, basically like bush, or is it actively used, are there trails on it, or do you?
There's no formal trails on it. It is, I would say, actively used by, neighbors. So I know the green space that is similar to this behind my house, is actively used by the kids and the neighbors, like fort building, whatever they do back there. You know, people do use it for composting, like that type of thing as well. But it is green space. There was cross-country ski trails last year that were just made by residents, that type of thing.
Okay, great, thanks.
Anything else for Blanchet?
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you, Mr. Ryder, appreciate it.
No problem.
Is there anyone, I'll move on, is there anyone online, wishing to speak against?
Yes, Shelley Wright.
Shelley, yes, go ahead, you're first up. Go ahead, Shelley, we'll do a quick mic test.
Okay.
Margaret, we'll just get you to turn off your camera right now. We're gonna go with Shelley Wright first, and then you'll go next, Margaret, thank you. Okay, Shelley, your mic sounds great, go ahead, floor is yours.
My screen is not fully functional here. Oh, here we go. Okay. My name is Shelley Wright. I'm a retired teacher living in Ontario. Before Wi-Fi, I graduated at the top of my class as an A student at Teachers College. Before my Wi-Fi injury, my principal told me that I had over a dozen families request me as their child's teacher. So I was pretty much a stellar teacher in the days before Wi-Fi. Around cell towers and wireless signals, I experienced debilitating migraines, MS symptoms, but I don't have MS. Feeling poisoned in the classroom and experiencing cognitive impairment and losing executive functioning, I couldn't focus on planning curriculum or to be the stellar teacher that I was before. Students who become electrosensitive sometimes give up on attending school to avoid debilitating migraines or alarming heart arrhythmias, which can cause heart failure in some children. I was lucky when I attended public school. When I went to school, I had asbestos-free and Wi-Fi absent classrooms. I could focus on my studies and not feel physically compromised by environmental toxins such as Wi-Fi. I was diagnosed with EHS at Women's College Hospital in Toronto. Crippled by the pervasive use of wireless devices, I've become a strong advocate for accessible educational and health medical facilities. I've become the director of the Canadian Educators for Safe Technology, an organization promoting safe tech in schools and accommodations for wireless sensitive students and staff. I've spoken to more than 800 teachers annually for 8 years at meetings of the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario and successfully worked to have motions passed to support teachers and students who become sick around wireless signals from cell towers and hubs. I've also been a guest speaker at Women's College Hospital at 2 medical EMF electromagnetic field symposiums, which provided medical continuing education CME credits for physicians. Cell towers do not belong close to children, near schools, parks, or playgrounds. There are no long-term exposure studies showing safety for children. The only factor Health Canada considers is the adverse effects of excessive heating. Children need optimal environments to focus on learning. Teachers across Canada are aware of the perfect storm wireless signals outside and inside the classrooms have created. According to doctors from Women's College Hospital, a growing percentage, up to 3% or so of the population, has now become sensitive to these signals. I have firsthand experience with microwave radiation sickness from exposures to radio frequency radiation, which is emitted by cell tower antennas. I've learned that signal strength, proximity to the tower, and duration of exposure can have a significant impact on the cumulative lifetime exposure each person can tolerate. I'm concerned about the students, pregnant or medically sensitive staff at St. Agathe Elementary School. I'm also concerned about the babies and preschool children in the home daycares in the community. These preschool age and school-aged children could be exposed to this radiation for 10 to 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. This type of 24/7 pervasive consistent radiation is a cancer initiator as well as a cancer promoter. A growing number of students and teachers exposed to microwave radiation from cell towers can experience headaches, difficulty concentrating, memory lapses, disorientation, dizziness, vertigo, sleep disturbances, insomnia, nausea, excessive fatigue, tinnitus, which is ringing in the ears, irregular heartbeat, pressure in the chest, skin rashes, and thyroid problems. In the absence of wireless signals, these symptoms disappear often within a few hours, but sometimes not for days, and for those severely impacted, for weeks. The signal strength, distance from the wireless source, and duration of the wireless exposure have an impact on the severity and longevity of the symptoms. My husband and I presented our concerns about a proposed cell tower to be located in our park and beach area. Our town council listened to our concerns and moved the cell tower to the water treatment plant 3 kilometers away from the most densely populated area of our neighborhood, where there were daycares, schools, and fire halls. This was the perfect solution. This cell tower location still provided reliable cell phone coverage. Moving the proposed Valley Fiber cell tower to 500 meters from St. Agathe School would achieve a number of health, wellness, and accessibility goals for your community. It would reduce the potential injury, create accessibility, and reduce costly trial and error, similar to the asbestos injuries. It would also support the precautionary principle. There are more than 6,000 studies that indicate pervasive, less than 24/7 exposures to electromagnetic signals in the microwave range can cause injuries such as leukemia, brain tumors, infertility, heart arrhythmia or heart failure, debilitating migraines, vertigo, etc. Cardiologist Dr. Sinatra claims these signals can cause heart failure in some children. Moving the cell tower would reduce the health effects of potential long-term cumulative exposure for students and staff. It would also likely avoid cluster cancers. 500 meters may even be too close to some children who are more vulnerable. There were 4 elementary students and 3 teachers in Ripon, California, who were diagnosed with cancer, and it was a cluster cancer due to a cell tower that was close by. Just by doubling the distance from St. Agathe School, the signal strength can be reduced by 4 times. According to my husband, who is an engineer, this is known as the square of the distance. Cell phones require very low power from cell towers to operate, so this should not affect any cell service. Moving the cell tower will protect children and pregnant staff, unborn children who are sensitive to wireless signals, because these cumulative 24/7 signals penetrate deeply into their rapidly growing brains. According to Deborah Davis, who's a PhD and an epidemiologist, signals can have an impact on the development of the thinking and memory cells in the fetal brain, causing environmental autism or ADHD. Brain studies reveal that radio frequency exposures can spike glucose level in the brain, leading to ADHD, addictive behavior, or other hormone disruptions, which amplify mental health issues. The American Academy of Pediatrics, the largest U.S. medical association of pediatricians and pediatric specialists, state, quote, children are disproportionately affected by environmental exposures, including cell phone radiation. The differences in bone density and the amount of fluid in a child's brain compared to an adult's brain could allow children to absorb greater quantities of RF frequency, this energy, deeper into their brains than adults. Moving the cell tower further away will support Health Canada's guidelines for young children. According to Health Canada, quote, children are more sensitive to environmental agents, unquote. Moving the cell tower will also support the ALARA principle, as low as reasonable achievable, providing students and staff with signals needed to operate devices efficiently while minimizing the signal strength. And following the By Initiative report, limits wherever possible will be perfect. Moving the cell tower will also support staff and students who are more sensitive to cell tower signals. These are people who experience amplified injury. So children who are living with concussions, Lyme disease, autism, MS, or people in your community with Parkinson's or diabetes or other neurodegenerative diseases, or those who have experienced chemical or electrical exposures. may not be able to tolerate additional signals which can trigger debilitating symptoms. Moving the proposed tower to more than 500 meters from St. Agathe School and the highly dense area, residential area, will greatly reduce the risk of short-term and long-term injury to students and staff while not impairing the cell phone communications. I urge you to consider 5 solutions which can avoid costly mistakes in your community. Number 1, delay the decision by 1 month. Explore the solutions, including a location in a less densely populated area, to minimize radiation exposure for young families and to consider health needs. Number 2, I urge you to move the proposed 58-meter Valley Fiber cell tower installation at least 500 meters from the elementary school and a densely populated residential area. Number 3, I hope that I urge you to identify the medical needs of the community, those with autism or immune deficiency, or those with electrosensitivity or recovering from cancer, to ensure the radiation levels support them, and to follow the bioinitiative report recommendations so that the cell tower levels do not exceed 10 microwatts per meter squared for those individuals in your community.
Shelley, I'm just going to let you know you have 1 minute left. Thank you.
Thank you. My last proposal is that you provide fiber optics to the premises in your community. Fiber optics is superior. It's 100% safe for children and vulnerable residents. Families need strong signals. They can connect their cell phones to FTTP signals through the wireless router in their home. Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you very much. 10 minutes exactly. Shelley, I'll ask if you could send us your presentation for our information.
Okay, I can do that. And I also do have some questions for the provider, if the provider is there, if I have time.
Yeah, you can ask the questions for sure, and we'll jot them down, and the provider can maybe answer them if they're willing to speak when we do the go around there. So go ahead with your questions.
My question is in terms of the height, are there specifications or are there restrictions in terms of the height? So in the future, will this tower be expanded upon in terms of height or the number of antennas? And if this is something that is possible, how can this community provide guidelines that are appropriate to support health and wellness of the community? So if you can work with the provider to ensure that there isn't a great proliferation of antennas and that levels support the bioinitiative report, that would be excellent.
Okay, next question.
Basically, I think that's my only question right now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll ask that question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your time, Shelley. Margaret, I believe you wanted to speak next.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Margaret, loud and clear. Thank you. And I'll just remind you, there's a 10-minute timeline for you. You can ask questions afterwards. And I will say, please present new information. If it is repetitious information, just say that you agree with this, or you'd like to look into this, et cetera, et cetera. Don't go into depth or specifics because we've already heard it once. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. So I'm also want to just say a few words for Ryan Jensen and also for Frank Clegg. Ryan Jensen is a resident in the area, and he has an ill relative, and so does Frank. So neither one of them are here. So I think Ryan has sent you a letter. Has everybody received it?
Yes, Ryan did send us a letter, maybe 2 letters, I believe, actually, and they have been added to council's information.
Great. Okay. So I just want to just bring the main point up, and that is that Ryan feels that there wasn't enough notification, there wasn't enough information. I think perhaps Valley Fiber will be talking later, but people need to have the opportunity to get the information, digest it, and then have more questions. So As you know, he's opposed to the tower. This is very close to his home and it's very close to the school. And he says that he only received notice on the December 14th, so it's very short notice. And really the information that was contained in the package is sparse. He also points out that only people within 100 meters were notified. That's according to the Planning Act. And we have to wonder, this is almost an entirely new tower from what was proposed before. And as such, it should actually follow the industry development and what's called innovation, science and economic development default process. So more people should be notified, and in fact, the whole town should be notified, because this is going to, the energy goes of the cell tower, the signals goes all across the town. So the other one is Frank Clegg. He's currently the CEO of a volunteer organization, Canadians for Safe Technology, and also the former president of Microsoft Canada. He's investigated this topic intensively, and unfortunately, he has an ill relative as well and couldn't make it today. He does want to send a letter, and he one of his big things is the liability issue, which I hope that you folks will look into. Who is actually liable? Is the town liable? As you heard, there are health concerns. Now, the World Health Organization classified this as a possible carcinogen in 2011, and they're now reviewing the data based on new science. There's human studies showing cancer effects, as well as animal studies that show clear evidence of this causing cancer. And the IARC, International Agency for Cancer, World Health Organization, is going to be looking at that. If you look at the World Health Organization, there are parts that say that there are no adverse effects. Just FYI, that branch is particularly influenced by industry. I can go into detail on that. So I wrote you a letter as well. I hope everybody got that. I'm just going to go over the main points. So the health concerns you've heard about, and I just want to just make you aware that if this tower goes where it is located, then there will be people that will be harmed, is what specialists in this area have told us. I'm going to go through some of the points, but I'm going to jump right to my point 6, and that is that the solution is simple. The solution is just to move the tower at least 500 meters away. I used to live in the area, and I know there's a lot of open space. I drive by it all the time. There's open space. You can approach a farmer. It's just inconvenient for Valley Fiber, and it would cost them more. But in the long term, it will pay off, because then you won't have to worry about health concerns. And there's also the industrial park right across the highway. My understanding is they don't want to pay and go through the red tape of going under the highway. So, you know, this can be done. Just move the tower, and this whole thing would be resolved. I also want to point out that property devaluation, so this is a big concern. I mean, who really wants to live underneath a cell tower once they know what the problems are? Fiber optics, again, I know is not the solution for everybody, but move the tower. Cell phones don't use that much signal. They don't need that much signal. And fiber optics is definitely superior for internet. And I also want to talk about the irregularities in what's been going on. Ryan did talk about that a little bit, but really, and there are a number of questions that I have here. I'd be glad to send them to Valley Fiber, or if and when they present, we can maybe go through some of those questions. But it's what we're talking about here is possibly new technologies, and there's been no safety testing for them. So I just want to point you in the direction. Oh yeah, okay, let's just go to figure 1. I'll be glad to send this to anybody. Just email me at manitobans4st@gmail.com, and I'll send this to you. So is this what the tower is like? We don't know, you don't know. I think the residents deserve to know. I just want to point out safety code 6. It's just based, go to table 5. It's just based on 6 minutes of heating. That's it. I'm not making it up. 6 minutes of heating. And they're saying it's safe for everybody. I'd love to elaborate on that. The new technologies that could be going on there include 5G technologies. Health Canada has ignored the studies of the other frequencies that go as well as with 5G, but 5G will introduce millimeter waves. That technology has not been tested, and even according to their own report, all of the heating studies were less than 30 minutes, and there were no studies, human studies, identified that assessed endpoints such as cancer, ocular effects, reproductive system effects, impacts on the immune system, non-specific symptoms, or any other adverse outcomes. So when they say there's no science showing harm, there's no science. There's no science showing safety either. And what Health Canada did is they eliminated all of the cell and tissue studies which show potential harm, and they show mechanisms on how this actually works. Over 30 studies showed DNA damage from radio frequency radiation, more than 30 studies, and some of these are high quality studies. So with that, I hope that you will please get this tower moved, and then everybody will be happy, I hope, and have a Merry Christmas. So I'm very open to any questions you may have.
Thank you, Margaret. I appreciate that. Council, do you have any comments or questions? Nothing right now. Okay, thank you for your time. Is there anyone else wishing to speak online against? Okay, anything received against?
Yes, I believe we have 6 letters against. I'll go through them one by one. First one is from S. Guigas. This email is to express my opposition to allowing the installation of the 190-foot telecommunications tower at 368 Service Road in St. Agathe. I've resided at 368 1 Street in St. Agathe for more than 20 years. I oppose the construction of the 190-foot tower on the proposed site. From a personal point of view, I greatly loathe the possibility of my front windows framing the view of a massive tower of metal with flashing lights. The tower would be in direct line of sight from my home and nothing could camouflage it. The tower would have the same impact on others in our neighborhood, and I suspect it would be also negatively impact the resale value of our homes. A tower that size should not be part of any residential area in our community. The proposed area is zoned Parks and Rec. This area is a green space that adds to the serenity and attractiveness of our community. The trees in this space provide some barrier to the traffic noise from on the highway and harbor wildlife. Unfortunately, the construction site has already cleared a small grove of fruit trees that is a great loss, and as those trees were loved in our neighborhood. This area should remain serene and attractive and not marred by a 109-foot tower. This is why we choose the community, and that is why we stay. While I can appreciate the recent advancements of technologies in our community, the neighborhood does not stand the benefit by erecting a 190-foot tower at the proposed site. Moreover, we stand to be negatively impacted. Since this is a commercial venture, why is this tower not being built in the appropriate zone? Next letter is from R. Cormier. As a longtime resident of St. Agathe, I am opposed to the tower that is proposed for the park plan as described in the conditional use file C-38-2021. I think the tower would be an eyesore and take away from parkland from behind the 1 Street. Isn't that the reason why we have an industrial park? When Valley Fiber first proposed optic in town, nowhere did it mention a tower. Now it has grown from 50 feet to 195 feet. Again, I must state that we are against this proposal. Thank you. Third letter is from Lisa Surratt. Is there a need for me to read the letter? No, indication of no, so thank you for that. Fourth letter is from G and D Dequier. We would like to thank Tim Peters, planning engineer of Valley Fiber, Mitch Duval, CEO of the Armor Reshot, and Curtis Clayton, ward councillor, for responding to our questions and concerns regarding the location of the telecommunications tower and the adjacent distribution center. As with many others in our community, we're excited to learn that Valley Fiber would be bringing fiber optics to St. Agathe, and we signed up for internet and TV service in November 2020. On December 3rd, as we were located well within 3 times the height of the tower, we received public notice regarding the location of proposed Valley Fiber telecommunications tower. It was after this that we noticed that there were in communication with the RM and Valley Fiber with questions regarding the proposed location and why this location was considered to be the best location. Correspondence throughout December 2020 and to January 2021. Since this time, the property has been retrofitted with some trees being cut or trimmed and a 12 by 12 by 10 building built. Our last correspondence just this week to ask if there were any changes to discussions and ask for clarifications on a few items. Again, our questions were addressed in a timely manner. While we are appreciative of the opportunity of having fiber optic connection to our home, we are against the proposal of the 190-foot telecommunications tower located at 368 Service Road in St. Agathe. We feel the tower should not be located in a residential area. We are also concerned about the decreased value in the property that this tower may create.
Can we read the next one? To Rural Municipality of Richard Councilors and CAO from Ryan Johnson, thank you. Oh, this is the second letter. Subject request to defer items. 6.1.2C 38-2021 to allow 195-foot telecommunications tower in a Parks and Recreation PPR zone, and 6.2.1B 19-2021 to vary the height of the telecommunications tower from 49.9 feet to 195 feet. Minister of Innovation, Science and Economic Development will be contacted asking, does the Planning Act supersede the federal CPC-2-0-03 video communications and broadcasting antenna systems default process, parentheses, Radio Communications Act, close parentheses, question mark. On December 9th or 14th, I received a letter notifying me that there would be items on the December 22nd council meeting to approve a 195-foot cell tower in a Parks and Recreation area, which is located less than 100 meters from my home. In addition, the height of this tower, originally proposed to be 49.9 feet, will be raised to 195 feet, nearly 4 times in height. No other details were provided. We do not know what the tower would look like, how many antennas it would hold, why this is needed, etc. There are many more questions. Only 4 other homes, all within 100 meters of the proposed cell tower, were notified. The CPC process was followed. At least 15 other homeowners would have been notified. This white line on this map shows the distance of homes that should also have received notices. Council has that photo of the image that he's added to this. As you may know, this is a space where children play, people walk their dogs. It is close to homes with small children and the school. As far as I know, as well as the homeowners within 3 times height of the proposed tower, also not notified were the local public, including nearby residences, community gathering areas, public institutions, schools, etc., neighboring land use authorities, businesses, and property owners, etc., located within a radius of 3 times the tower height, all underlined. 195 feet times 3 equals 585 feet from tower, parentheses, 170 meters, close parentheses. According to CPC 2-0-03, public notification, 1, proponents must ensure that the local public, the Land Use Authority, and Industry Canada are notified of the proposed antenna system. As a minimum, proponents must provide a notification package, parentheses, the Appendix 1, close parentheses, to the local public, including, parentheses, including nearby residents, community, gathering areas, public institutions, schools, etc., close parentheses, neighboring land use authorities, businesses, and underlying property owners, etc., located within a radius of 3 times the tower height. The radius is measured from the outside perimeter of the supporting structure. For the purpose of this requirement, the outside perimeter begins at the furthest point of the supporting mechanism, be it the outermost guideline, building edge, base of the self-supporting tower, etc. Public notification of an upcoming consultation must be clearly marked, making reference to the proposed antenna system so that it is not misinterpreted as junk mail. The notice must be sent by mail or be hand-delivered. The face of the package must clearly reference that the recipient is within the prescribed notification radius of the proposed antenna system. We can have great cell service even if the tower were moved 500 meters away, either to the industrial area, Cartier Park, or to one of the wide open field. Fiber optics to our homes will provide faster speeds at wireless from cell towers. This would protect our children's health from the type of radiation emitted by the cell tower antennas. Even Health Canada and ISED have to admit that there are no long-term studies demonstrating safety for small children. Safety Code 6 itself is based on avoiding overheating for 6 minutes of exposure. parentheses, table 5, 6,000 to 15,000 megahertz frequencies, close parentheses. We don't want a repeat of asbestos or cigarette smoking, which took years before protective measures were taken and where we are now seeing the consequences of cancers and other unwanted health conditions. If the above proposals are passed at today's council meeting, I will be writing to Minister Francois Philippe Champagne asking for his opinion on this matter. Ryan, PS? No, that's it.
Last letter also received from LNL Markwart. As the residents most affected by the above applications, we would like to formally register our objection to the tower that is proposed to be constructed at 368 Service Road in St. Agatha. There are a number of issues with the proposal and the above process itself. One, this is very poor land use planning. Having some background and education in the area, the goal should keep St. Agatha as idyllic, attractive, riverside, family-oriented community. Placing metal communication towers within a few yards of residential areas does not achieve this goal. New families will not be attracted to the town to live under the shadow of a 195-foot tower, unless, of course, it's due to the recent reduced property value caused by such a poor decision by council. Previous councils had the wisdom and foresight to ensure that sufficient land west of Highway 75 was flood protected and available for such uses. The current council should show similar wisdom. 1B, as the residents who are immediately affected by the property in question over the numerous years of our living and planning our living space, we have asked the RM a reach out about the use of that space. We were repeatedly told that this space that will never change in its designation from park and rec space to commercial, industrial, or residential, and that no structure could ever be built there. The council at the time realized that the space is used by families, not only our own, for safe recreational purposes. Thus, the reasons for the large dike in the area that encompass the St. Agatha, including the industrial space away from the residents. 2, the approval process of this facility has been abused. It was clear from the start, given the timing of its construction on site, that there was never an intent to take any consideration of the views most affected by the neighbors. We tried to log into the initial hearing and search the RM website for the link, to no avail. Only later, after rereading the initial letter, did we figure out that we had to register beforehand. Why be so restrictive and make it difficult for affected parties to participate, other than the purposely discourage dissenters from expressing their views? I am of the opinion the process used should be reviewed by the Manitoba Ombudsman. 3, there is lack of information to which to make an informed decision provided. What sort of lighting will be on the tower in the yard? What type of fencing? What is the actual footprint? Did the RM and the proponent consider any other options? And if so, what were they? If not, why not? Again, it seems the process has been conducted in order to achieve a predetermined result. The actions of council and the proponent with regard to engaging neighbors are very disappointing. It is clear that council does not have a cohesive vision for the community. Based on the previous process, it is clear that the result of this mock hearing is already set, and it is likely that we will see anything different. Perhaps the ombudsman can make some recommendations that will improve the future process. The RM also received a letter of concern from G. Saint-Hilaire. It is not in favor or opposed from what I could tell. Does council wish to, council all has a copy of this concern from Mr. Saint-Hilaire?
Yeah, I believe council has reviewed this. Council's okay with not reading this out loud, as it's just letter of concern?
I think we've all read it.
Yeah. Okay, no, we'll pass on reading it out loud. Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Okay. And that is all I believe I have.
I do want to make a comment about his submission, all of those YouTubes. I went to watch them and it just took me to, it never took me anywhere.
Okay.
So
For
that was
Mr.
disappointing.
Saint-Hilaire.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
The 2 links, I tried them both and it just gave me a sad face or something,
okay.
unfortunately.
Thank you. Okay, I will go back to a round of anyone wishing to speak in favor or against or make general comments. If the developers are online now, I would ask that you speak or would come online so we could ask you the questions if you'd like.
I think I am available here, and yeah, let me know when you're ready for me to speak. I'll wait my turn, obviously, for that opportunity.
No, I think Conley, Mr. Keller, we are ready for you. Did you want us to ask you the questions, or did you want to go into a little bit of a presentation first, maybe answering some of the questions that were posed?
Yeah, I think that's a good way for me to introduce. Ryan Stevens is our Director of Fixed Wireless. He's on the call as well, and so is Tim Peters, our Director of Engineering. So they'll certainly ask or answer more of the technical questions, as that is their field of expertise. Mine is certainly more in the lines of, I guess, some of the history to the fiber build in St. Agathe and how we got to this point. So first, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, Mr. Duval and Tanya, for the invitation to be able to answer some questions to the public. It's never our intent to hide anything. It's always has been our intent to be upfront. I think that would go to the very first meeting that we had with the CDI in St. Agathe. We want to be a good corporate citizen in St. Agathe. We feel we are starting to do that with offering some Wi-Fi hotspots and yeah, just becoming part of the community as a whole. So Valley Fiber in its infancy, the goal was to bring better internet to the Red River Valley and to the Pembina Valley. It's become way more than that, but that was certainly our goal, because we, like the residents of St. Agathe and in the rural parts of Manitoba, we're very underserviced. And so we kind of took a leap of faith, jumped in with both feet, and started our fiber build and continued our fixed wireless build in southern Manitoba. That said, the CDI in St. Agathe was the catalyst for fiber in St. Agathe, and we're very thankful of that. They came to us and requested information, and who knew that at the end of the day we were going to have the opportunity to bring the best dedicated fiber build in Canada to the RM of Reshaw, and in particular St. Agathe. The council itself, the RM of Reshaw, was obviously very forward-thinking, knowing that this would bring, an economic opportunity to St. Agathe and also to existing businesses, that are not necessarily in St. Agathe proper, but outside of St. Agathe. So all that said, the build that we started in St. Agathe was before COVID. We've learned that online learning, aging at home, businesses that require better internet to do business that's online, all those things that we didn't ever think were going to be so important have become very real in this world. And so we're seeing the fourth wave. So we're excited to be part of St. Agathe proper, but we also want to be part of RM of Reshaw in a more broad scope. So to answer some of the questions, and this came up 3 days ago when I was driving down Highway 75, and this answers one of the questions, is the lights on the building. When I got back to the office the next day, I said, we need to either put some kind of sensors on those lights so that they only go on when there's activity, or we need to turn them off for most of the time, because they are brighter than I would ever expect it to be on our building. So I hope that answers one question there. The light on the tower, I'm going to let Ryan speak to that. I think it's important to say that the tower is not a cell tower. Well, it's not important. It is not a cell tower. It is going to provide a fixed wireless 5.8 gigahertz signal. And again, I'll let Ryan and Tim speak to that in more detail, but it is not in any way a cell tower. And if there's anything, that wording that needs to be put into place that says, we will not put cell tower equipment on there without permission from the RM. Again, we can't make any moves on that tower without permission from the municipality or from ISED. So the goal at the end of the day and throughout is that the tower is meant for a fixed wireless product to service the residents that don't have access to fiber, because we know that not all the kids or students that attend the schools or businesses that do business or farms that farm are inside St. Agathe there throughout the Arm of Reshot. So I'm going to stop there, and I think it's best if the questions are asked of us, and we can then in turn answer those questions properly. Does that work for council?
I think council's okay with that. Yeah, Mr. Seal, I'm going to turn it over to you because you probably wrote the questions down.
And maybe one thing, sorry, just to interrupt. I think it's important for me to say that and these are just a couple of goals for the tower infrastructure, set out in the first place. So, and I wrote some of these down. I mean, the goal was to provide quality internet, obviously, to residents, in Reshot, not just those in proper St. Agathe. Our hope is that, and I think that the fire department and emergency services will take us up on the offer to improve their two-way radio equipment for times when there's emergencies to communicate. So the tower is available for that. We'd like to provide space, and again, we've talked about this with council and with Mitch about putting security cameras up on the tower to provide a source of protection for the St. Agathe proper. Bring better service to the industrial park. So again, that's one of our goals. We certainly, right out of the gate, want to provide some service to the Cheyenne Park. I hope I'm saying that right, and to the Riel Park. But to the building where we first met with the CDI, we want to bring fixed wireless connection to it, and then provide Wi-Fi to those that use the park. And then I look at the plans for the park and how we want to be part of that build as well. So again, supporting business, supporting students, supporting teachers, supporting everybody that's part of, those are outside of St. Agathe is certainly the goal, and also to support emergency services within St. Agathe as well. Now I'll stop. Yeah.
Thank you, Conley. I appreciate that. Mr. CEO, I know some of those questions were answered. Did you have any other ones?
I think one of the questions that I heard was what kind of lighting is on the tower?
Sure. Yeah.
Hey there. Yeah, I can answer that. So the light that is at the top of the tower is a single white light that during the day is brighter than it is at night. When the sun goes down, the intensity of the light actually decreases, and it's a stationary fixed light. So and it's a 360 degree light. And a very narrow beam, specifically for aircraft.
Okay, thank you. Did you have another one? Did you answer, sorry, Conley, I might have missed the reason for why such tall tower height specs? Was that answered?
Height?
Yeah, was that answered?
No, it was answered.
The reason for the height being 195 feet, why the change, why the height? The reason behind that, and the number of antennas, will that ever change, or can that be manipulated without council's discussion or approval?
I think I'll answer the question to the height. I'm finding it unusual that there's talk of the tower being a certain height at one point in time. Right out of the gate with the CDI, the first meeting, it's always been, and the towers that we do erect are 195 feet. So I'm not sure where the 50-foot question came, but the tower specs itself have always been 195 feet.
I appreciate that. That answers that question. And what about the antennas? Do you plan to have other antennas on there immediately for any other services? You kind of touched base on that a little bit. Can somebody mandate you, or a government entity mandate you to add antennas if they feel it's appropriate? Can you teach us a little bit about that?
I'll let my experts speak on that.
Yeah, so I guess I can touch on this one. The tower and foundations are designed for added capacity. So the tower can take some more loading. but any changes that we do to the tower, above modifying some of the existing equipment that's on it, do require us to go through the public notification process that very similar to the one that we did for this tower originally. So it's notifying residents of the changes there. So yeah, I think that covers it there.
Thank you. Do these changes need to be approved by the federal government body?
Through ISID, yeah. It would have, the equipment would have to be approved by ISID, and the public notification process would be governed by them as well.
Okay. Do you guys have any other questions? Yeah. You do? Yeah, I think I got mine, lighting, limitations, height specs, antennas. Go ahead, Councillor Clayton.
Yeah, hello. So regarding the consultation process, some of the ratepayers are saying that they reached out to you with questions that weren't answered, and I know that through the ISID consultation process, there's parameters there with what ratepayers can ask, but the onus is on the applicant to answer those questions. So to your knowledge, were all the questions answered?
I'll ask.
Yes. Yeah. To my knowledge, we've answered all the questions that we received either through email or letters, and all of that also response-wise is reviewed by ISED and required to kind of conclude the notification process.
Okay, and I guess thank you. So part B to that would be, do you have ISED approval on the tower right now?
Yes. Yeah. Like the public notification process, yeah, and the equipment and the spectrum that we're using there, yes, yeah.
Okay, but I think at the end of the day, ISED still has to give you approval to move forward with the tower, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Yep. Like they've done that to this point. Yeah.
Okay. So there was a question regarding tower sharing, and I assume that would be with a competitor. Did you reach out to see if tower sharing was a possibility?
Yeah, to the tower to the north, we did, and I believe there was one to the south. I'd have to go and check communication on that, but we did take a survey of the surrounding towers.
By ISED rules, we have to follow those guidelines. So we did connect with any towers that would be a potential for us to share.
Okay, thank you. And it's regarding the height of the tower, I'm just trying to think, like, are you trying to reach a 10 kilometer or 20 kilometer distance to reach new subscribers for the service?
The radius of the tower is about a 10-mile radius.
So how many? So within that 10-mile radius, how many potential new customers do you see signing up? I'm not sure if you've reviewed that or not, but
I don't have those exact numbers, but just taking a look at an aerial view on the maps, it's a fairly good number that obviously aren't right in the fiber coverage and would be very well served by this.
Okay. And as far as the tower itself, from the diagrams I've seen, there isn't actually a fence or anything put around the tower, is there? There's just basically almost like a metal shield that goes over the ladder so people can't access it?
Tim can speak to that.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Yep, there's a guard at the base to prevent climbing.
And I guess just like we already have fixed wireless towers in St. Agatha. There's one right beside the school. There's one at the St. Agatha service center. But like as far as how the signal is distributed, I mean, I know that this is regulated by Safety Code 6, and I can kind of go into a little bit of that when council debates this. But how is the signal projected? I mean, is it more intense right underneath the tower, or is it directed outwards to reach, communities or, surrounding areas that aren't connected with fiber right now? Maybe
Yeah,
you can
it's
explain
not, for sure. It's not similar to the way that a cell phone tower works, where you're trying to get that denser coverage. It is a projected field out. So right at the base of the tower, it is actually the worst area for coverage. The further out, the better that it's received. So it's a narrow beam using sectorized antennas, and those are pointing in different directions. So it's not pointing down whatsoever. And then at the customer's homes, they do require some level of height in order to get them. Line of sight or near to line of sight is the best way to get that.
So would it be then safe to say that the signal strength would almost be far stronger a further distance from the tower than right up against the tower?
That would be a fair thing to say.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Anyone else on council have any questions for the applicants?
Yes, I have a couple.
Go ahead, Councilor Boulanger.
Councilor Boulanger here, hi. A lot of my questions were answered, so thank you for this discussion, it's very helpful. Now you said that there's concern about the cell tower or cell equipment being used on the tower in the future, so we could limit that by, or eliminate that by putting that in the contract or whatever paperwork there would be. So that would, I understand, eliminate kind of the health issues that cell towers emit. Are there any known or concerns with health on just an internet tower? I don't know if I have the right terminology, but.
That's okay. It's a very valid question. I think it's important that everyone asks it. But ultimately, what it comes down to is a fixed wireless tower like what we use uses very different technology than what a cellular tower would use. So the power levels that we're using, that the equipment uses, is significantly different. We're looking at a power rating of often less than 1 watt of power, when you're looking at cellular towers that are using hundreds of watts of power to get that kind of coverage. It's very similar technology to what is used in the routers in your home. It just uses then specialized antennas to concentrate that to a further distance to allow us to reach those further areas. That's kind of how that works. So when it comes down to the Safety Code 6, we're far under the requirements for that.
Okay, great. Another question, last question is, I understand that you guys went around and looked at potential sites in the area. What led you to this site? What was the determining factor for this site?
I think I would ask Conley to.
Yeah, I'll speak to that. We looked at a number of sites. I wasn't a part of that process, but I know that we landed here for a couple of reasons. We wanted to provide, a source of a generator on site that not only we would use, but potentially the fire department could use as well. A location that was as least impacting on the community as possible. A location that was next to, like I said, a generator, and next to a remote central office, which is the 12 by 12 building that's been talked about, to provide a tower that is fiber fed, that will provide better service to the area because it is fiber fed. So we can offer bigger packages, so faster speeds, lower latency, which just all brings to the point of better online learning, better aging at home, better, emergency services, and all those things. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it does. I just wonder if it were to be in the industrial park on the west side of 75, what, is that difficult to do? And it's obviously not as ideal, but is that a potential site?
To answer that question here might be premature, but knowing that the site location that we currently have is best suited for the tower as far as accessibility to a fiber optic line. Is there another location that we could entertain? I think that's a discussion, yeah, that we are open to having with council. But at this time, that would change, and it could change it up to a year to 2 years on where a tower would go and how soon it would come up.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, typically I don't open it up for roundtable questions, but I think I will, given the hybrid circumstances we're in. So I will, someone wanting to ask a question to the applicants online. Liz and Larry, I see your hands up first, so maybe we'll go with you, and then Shelley, you can go right after.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
While we appreciate all of the information you provided, I think there's sort of a common theme among a lot of the people that are dissenting, and it's not really being addressed. The last question addressed it a little bit. It's better suited across the highway. I don't know how where you chose would have less community impact than beside the Flying J. You talk about fiber fed. Does that mean there's no plan to put fiber into the actual industrial park where a business would actually be able to take advantage of that? Like, it just seems like a terrible location where there's such optimal space across the highway.
Now let's keep into a form of a question, please. So we'll keep the question. Is there plans in the future to bring fiber to the industrial park?
There is plan to bring fiber to the industrial park over time, yes.
Yeah, and I guess the other part of the question is how would they come to the conclusion that being beside 20 feet from my yard is better for the community than by the Flying J? Like, I don't know what input went into that decision.
Okay, yeah, can answer that question?
Is that a question for council and ourselves, or how would we do that?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. CEO.
I could give maybe a little bit of the history of the search of the lands that we went through in the process. When we were approached by Valley Fiber, they were looking for municipal-owned property. And in St. Agathe, that is very limited in nature. We looked at the St. Agathe Centennial Hall area. And the piece of property that they require is 70 feet by 70 feet to be able to put that little building and a tower on the same site. So looking at the hall and ownership of that piece of property in question was not possible. The next site that we went to, we looked at, was by the St. Agathe Arena at the west side of the building, but that thing is only 35 feet wide. Otherwise, we would have to start looking into the parking lot, and we thought it was not a good location for the parking lot. And then we went to the location at the fire hall. We looked at the fire hall parking lot, even beside the little blue building with the water distribution. There's too many underground water lines there as well. So finally, we were looking a little bit further north, and that's where the idea of putting it within the 2 tree lines that are in that public Parks and Rec area came to be, and without any minimal damages to the tree having been done. So that's how that site was chosen and proceeded with.
Yeah,
So there,
so go ahead. So yeah, the applicant, I think we will take, that question we've answered, so I don't think the applicant needs to go ahead any further with that one. Go ahead, Liz and Larry, another question?
So it's a question after a comment. As some of you know, we built the first building in St. Agath after the flood, and we had to jump through so many hoops to make that building happen so that it was the least impact to the neighborhood and the greatest good to the community at large. Our studio went, its population went from Emerson all the way to Winnipeg. We had a huge student population, and still we were not given any extra benefit from council, from anybody. We had to do it all ourselves, pay all our bills ourselves. And I'm finding it very difficult that we have this property that we were told nothing could be built behind it because it's park and rec, that somehow is now being given for $1 to benefit communities. I'm just not sure how that decision was made when we're financially impacted negatively. All the houses that are going to be anywhere near this are going to be financially and recreationally and view wise, everything's going to be changed by this tower being there. But somehow this other company is given these opportunities. I have a problem with that. So I guess the question is the Cartier Park not municipal? Is there not? I guess I'm emotional at the moment. I'm sorry. Maybe Larry can finish my question.
why was none of the property across the highway part of the list that you listed? Why was all of those parcels basically within practically residential area, even notwithstanding where existing towers are, because past mistakes don't really make up for future bad planning?
Yeah, so I guess the question was already answered by, the key point was looking for municipal property, and in St. Agath, it's very limited what municipal property we own. The other thing I'll go back to your comment is selling the land for $1. I'm really not a huge proponent of that. Having said that, there was more to those terms where the area, the halls and stuff would be provided quality internet from Valley Fiber, so it works out to a much larger dollar figure than just $1 at the end of the day, and it provides a service to the community members when they're using those community services. So I just want to defend that portion of the contract. But going back to your last question, yeah, Mr. CEO answered that. In conjunction with Valley Fiber, they were looking for municipal land first and foremost. That was the key.
Is Cartier Park not owned by the municipality?
No.
Who owns it?
Interesting.
It's owned by the St. Agath CDI.
Oh, I see.
Community Development Corp. in St. Agath, and they also own the majority of the lots up for commercial development in Real Park.
Okay, so thank you. So it's basically because they didn't want to have to pay for a commercial lot.
Yeah, we'll keep going on with questions. I appreciate that. Do you have any other questions, Liz and Larry?
No,
thanks.
Thank you for your time. Shelley, I think we're on to you next.
Yes, thank you. I'm just really concerned about the existing residents, and that somebody who is electrosensitive myself, I'm concerned that the provider is not considering, seriously considering areas that might, yes, be a little bit more expensive, but further away from existing residential structures and facilities, schools, that sort of a thing, so that these people are not injured or displaced from that. They do clearly want fiber optics to the premises. That is 100% safe for everyone. The wireless hotspots are horrible and do cause injury and displacement. So my concern is that if everyone can get around to the round table and explore options that are further away from established people, residents, schools, and that sort of thing, I'm wondering if that can happen, as well as how many microwatts will be. We're not talking about other measurements. We're talking about microwatts per meter squared of radiation will impact the children at this school? How many microwatts will be right in front of that school? Because 10 microwatts per meter squared is the bioinitiative recommendation for vulnerable children. So for long-term 24/7 exposure. So, you know,
Shelley,
I just,
Shelley, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna break it down into one question at a time. I'm not here to listen to concerns. I'm here to listen to questions to answer or pose to the applicant. So let's go with your first question. Your first question is microwatts from the tower. Is that what you're asking?
my first question was about finding land that might be a little bit more expensive, but land that doesn't lead to injury or displacement of existing structures and residents in the area. There must be a piece of land either in an industrial zone or somewhere else. Might be a little bit more expensive to erect a structure there, but in the long term, it will be less costly for the residents and their health and those considerations. So
I appreciate that, so I'll cut you off there. The land aspect was, the question was asked already, and we have given the answer of why we've come to this land. So that question has been answered, and it's because we need municipal land. There's very few, or if any other municipal land portions in St. Agathe. So we'll go on to your next question, please. Just for the essence of time, I don't mean to be rude, but we need to continue. So next question.
How many megawatts per meter squared will this existing tower then create in front of the school, St. Agathe School? What will the children be exposed to in the playground?
Okay, thank you. Ryan?
Yeah, I don't have the exact calculations. However, again, the fixed wireless technology, very different than cellular technology, and it would be what they would be exposed to in the playground would be less than what they'd be exposed to with the Wi-Fi access points that are in a school, or the cell phones that a lot of kids carry now, or anything like that. So yeah, we can definitely have our network engineering team update those exact numbers. But again, the fixed wireless technology is nothing like cellular technology when it comes to the effects to the areas around, and it's different.
Except at a 10-mile radius, the levels will be pretty excessively high. Okay, and yeah, I think that's a really important consideration. It needs to follow the bioinitiative report for vulnerable populations if it's going to be in a school area. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, Shelley?
No, thank
you. Okay, Margaret, your turn.
Thank you very much. I just want to, a couple of clarifications. So I just want to make sure I heard right, that this is not for cell phone service for people in St. Agathe or elsewhere. Is that, and then I've got a follow-up. Is that correct?
This is not this tower does not have cellular technology. This will not help cell phones. This is
right. So anybody, I have heard that people in St. Agathe say we want the tower because we want really good cell service. So that's actually an irrelevant issue here, correct?
Yeah, if there's no cell service capability from this tower, then it's an irrelevant point, yeah.
So you pointed out a couple of benefits that have to do with the fire hall. But in terms of benefits for the community, what benefits would there be for the community?
The expanded ability to connect to the internet at people's homes who the fiber doesn't reach. It will also really assist farmers. A lot of farmers have multiple different buildings on their properties that they want to connect to the internet, and assist them with that. But it's again assisting the people in the community and the neighbors of the community who are essentially part of it.
So I'm sorry that I missed that last part. So basically, I mean, the people that were very excited about fiber optics. Fiber optics is the best thing for internet connection. So this is for internet connection wirelessly outside of the St. Agathe community primarily.
Correct.
Yes, but I'll jump in, right? Margaret, I'll address that as mayor for a municipality, not the community. We want to see better internet if this passes for a whole municipality. And by this, that would bring opportunities for outside just one of our communities and to many other communities.
Right.
If passed.
The point I'm trying to make here is that because there is so much uncertainty about the health risks, why risk a population of, 630 people when you don't have to? You just move it 500 meters away. Industrial parks there, you're going to move it there. Oh my goodness. Excuse me.
We'll take a 30-second pause here.
You say you're going to put fiber across the highway eventually, so it can be done. So the other one for clarification is you said that if you add more technologies to the tower, that it would have to go through public notification. I think you need to look into that. Once a tower is constructed, then basically it's a done deal. And even with public notification, it's very rare for ISED to turn anything down. So once this tower is up, it can be increased by 25%, by the way, without public notification. And correct me if I'm wrong. So there's my question. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can add extra antennas, extra technology. And I also want to bring up that the frequencies that are going to be emitted from this, that I read in one of your replies. And by the way, not all of your answers were answered satisfactorily. You may have answered them, but I know for Ryan, he had other questions which did not go answered. So they have not all been answered. But I just want to say the frequencies are about 3.5 gigahertz, 3,500 gigahertz, and 5,000, about double current Wi-Fi, which is 2.45 gigahertz. So about 5 gigahertz. These are the same or similar. They're in the same range as what is used for cell phone communications. There's not a lot of difference. They're all in the radio frequency range, which has been, I'm going to ask you to correct me if I'm wrong, which is in the range that the World Health Organization has classified as a possible carcinogen. Am I wrong?
Okay. Well, I don't have that answer, but maybe go ahead, Ron.
The frequencies, yes, but the power behind them and also these are point to point, so they're directed from one antenna directly to another and form a beam. So it's quite a different technology there. And then also you are right with the 25% and changing it there, but from my understanding of the requirements there, if we do change our antenna technology, so if we do go to like a cellular drastic change there, then we would have to go through that public notification process on it. So this will right there.
Would you please provide council with that information? I certainly am not familiar with it, and I have looked very thoroughly at all of the ISED protocols. So I'm very interested in that as well. Manitobans number 4 st@gmail.com. I would really like to have a look at that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. And Margaret, just so you know, I went over Ryan's letters, and there's no other questions on there. I don't know what we missed, but I believe we answered anything that was on the letters.
Okay, these were questions that were asked during the public notification process. So initially what happens is the proponent is required to solicit input. And so I think there's 21 days, and then they reply to those replies, and then Fiber Valley or whatever the proponent then replies to those replies. Well, in that process, those are the ones that not all of the questions were answered.
I see, okay. But from a municipal standpoint, yeah, okay. I get it, I understand, thank you. Any other questions, Margaret?
No, that's it, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time. Okay, I will do a final call for questions in favor, against, general comment, and then I'll ask council if they have any final. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Ms. Saurette, yeah.
You were just putting it online. So I do have a question. You've indicated that only municipal property would be considered. Can you please explain to everyone why only municipal property was ever considered in the contract with Valley Fiber?
Do you have an answer for that? That's Valley Fiber?
Valley Fiber's request.
Sure. Valley Fiber, do you, or the applicant, do you have a answer for that specifically?
Sorry, I did not hear the question.
Want to repeat it again, Ms. Saurette?
Yeah, for sure. So why was municipal property only considered for the tower? We've indicated that it has to be on municipal property, but we don't have any background on why it needs to be on municipal property.
In order to service the community, we obviously spend great amount of dollars to get from, for example, in this case, down Highway 200 up into St. Agath. So in coordination with the municipality, it is always our request for some, I won't call it shared costs, but for some mutual agreements between, municipality and Valley Fiber to look for a location that fits both their needs and our needs. So in simplest way to answer the question, it's based on, I won't say a partnership, but a mutual agreement between the two. And part of that is to, like council mentioned, to bring services to the community as well as to bring fiber to the community itself.
I'll let Mrs.
Sure, there's a lot of words, but not really.
I'll let Mrs. Saurette contemplate on that one. I do have a question regarding other communities and other municipalities. Is this what Valley Fiber has done elsewhere, working with municipalities and towns?
The answer to that is there's been a hybrid of those. Some municipalities have put in dollars and cents. Some municipalities aren't in a position to do that, so they've offered the opportunity to put an RCO or a tower or both onto a municipal piece of property in trade for, let's say, services. Some municipalities have said that they won't do either, and so we look for private property in those cases. So to be very upfront, there is a mix of all kinds of deals that we've made with municipalities, towns, villages, etc.
So sorry, just a couple other questions. So by delaying putting the tower and moving it to a commercial location and running fiber optics to the other side of Highway 75, how long is that delay, and what is your associated estimate for revenue costs or cost revenue in that delay? Because this is really a dollar question. If you put the tower down, you get it to the industrial park faster. If you wait and move the tower, you lose revenue. So how much revenue are you going to lose by moving the tower to the other side of Highway 75?
That would be a question that wouldn't be a question I could answer today. We'd have to do a study on all kinds of things, environmental impact, how many businesses in the industrial park would want service, going under a highway. So there's all kinds of variables that come into play when it comes to putting fiber in the ground and where it goes to and who's at the end of that fiber. So that's a question I really can't give a good answer to on this call.
You did indicate that you had a business case to run fiber optics to the other side of Highway 75 at some point in the future. You indicated 12 to 24 months in your presentation. So the revenue associated with building the tower today has to be greater. Otherwise, you would have a business case to move forward with running fiber optics, and this would be your long-term solution.
Certainly putting a tower up, now as opposed to 2 years from now is going to have an impact on those that won't have service or proper service for 2 years. So yeah, I mean, the goal for us is to bring better service to to the arm of Reshot residents that are not inside St. Agathe proper, and to do it sooner rather than later. At the same time, a tower going up, earlier rather than later will service the industrial park if there's folks that are looking for better service, because a fiber-fed tower will allow us to bring a really good service to those businesses and potentially allow the CDC and the RM to attract businesses to the park.
Any other follow-up?
I need to follow up with the council. I would ask the council on why they're seeking safety expertise from a business provider versus from a safety expert. Obviously, the opinions of the provider are going to be such that they benefit the providers themselves and not necessarily benefit the community in general. So I would ask the council to seek relevant, impartial advice on both the health effects of the tower in conjunction to the school, as well as, some of the other issues that I brought up today, as opposed to seeking up to the provider.
I appreciate that. I'll take that into consideration during my debates. Okay, I will bring it up for Margaret. Did you have another question? Your mic's on. I'm not too sure.
Yes, I'm just, okay, now I'm a little bit, need clarification here. So you can, the industrial part you're talking about is just across the highway. It's about a similar distance to the school. So can you direct the beams to the industrial park and not to the school?
Beyond me. Ryan, can you answer that?
So the way that the tower gets set up is with essentially 4 directions of coverage, and that provides a coverage around in that 10-mile radius. So as far as not directing, as you put it, beams towards the school, these are very focused in certain directions. We're not pointing at the school directly. We're pointing outwards at the horizon, and it doesn't point at the school. We're not beaming this down at the school.
Would you point at the industrial park?
It would be pointed in that direction as well, towards the horizon, yes.
Thank you, that was my question.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to close it for the general public. And council, do you have any final questions for the applicants?
I have a question for either Shelley Wright, or is that possible?
Sure.
I know it's past, but Shelley, if you're still on the line, I know you've got a lot of knowledge and research and information. So what I heard in your presentation was all on cell tower health effects. Do you have any, unless I misheard or didn't hear, do you have any data on what internet tower effects on health is?
You're
muted. You're muted, Shelley.
Thank you. Anything within the radio frequency electromagnetic radiation, which is radio frequency radiation in the microwave range, can have an impact, biological impact on our bodies, and children, of course, are more vulnerable. So that includes home routers, that includes cell towers, that includes hubs, it includes the radiation that we're talking about today. And the square of the distance is exceptionally important. And can you clarify your question again, just so I understand what you're asking?
Yes, well, I'm just hearing, the applicant has assured or established that it's not going to be a cell tower, and that the frequencies, or whatever the term is significantly less than what cell tower emits. And I would assume that there's actual data on that as far as numbers. So if the internet tower falls within that range, I don't see there being a health concern. So I just wanted to know if you've had data on internet towers as opposed to just cell towers.
Yes, there's lots of information out there, and there's a number of websites you can check this information on CanadiansForSafeTechnology.org. And there are some websites in the States as well. If you are able to get in touch with Marg Friesen, who's also a delegate here today, a speaker today, she can provide you with some information. She is a scientist that has a wealth of information at her fingertips. Also, maybe later I can provide you with some information as well in terms of my contact information, if I can. Anything wireless that's in the 2G, 3G, 4G, or wireless signals do have a potential for biological impact. Wi-Fi makes me sick. I'm electrosensitive, and I do know of teachers, I speak on behalf of teachers and students across Canada who have become electrosensitive. Heart arrhythmias are the most dangerous ones, where heart failure can happen. But of course, there's a host of other injuries that can happen with these Wi-Fi signals. And this is why it's important that we find areas that are further. Distance is your friend. Finding areas that are further away, and especially if it's not going to assist children in any way to have these extra exposures, perhaps having a tower placed further away from this vulnerable population of students and young families is very prudent, taking the precautionary measures, as well as there's a Bragg study right now. Dr. Magda Havas from Trent University is doing a Bragg study where people are actually taking RF meters to every school and double checking the radio frequency levels. There's a lot of citizen scientists out there now today, a global citizen scientists going in their communities, double checking that the levels are appropriate for their community. So there is a lot going on right now, and that information is getting downloaded probably as we speak. So are you able to get in touch with Marg Friesen, or can somebody provide you with that information, her contact, Marg? Or I can give you my email address right now if you'd like it.
Sure. You know what, Shelley, when you provide us with the presentation, you can provide us with maybe a couple links attached to that, and our CEO can disperse the information that way. Marg's already spoke about the beliefs out there, so we won't go around again. Thank you, Councillor Boulanger. Anyone else on council have any final questions? No? Okay. Councillor Pelletier, go ahead.
Question for Ryan. What's the width of the band coming off the tower?
So we're in the 3 gigahertz and the 5 gigahertz. The antennas that go on it are 90-degree sector antennas. Anything kind of further detailed like that, if you could just kind of write down the specifics of what you're looking for, and we can provide that.
So when you're when we're sending the microwave out, how wide is that band?
I would have to get one of the network engineers to give you that specific information. I know that there's a lot of different factors that kind of take that into consideration as to how we are broadcasting in certain areas. So I can get you that information. I just don't want to give you anything incorrect.
Okay. And based on your knowledge, how far out until it starts actually spreading? Like, I know it's a very narrow band. My point is, the school with the location of the tower now would be less susceptible to microwaves than if we were 500 meters away.
Like as far as the susceptibility to the microwaves, again, just the type of technology is similar to the Wi-Fi that's in the school, so it doesn't affect the way that if a cellular tower was right next to that school, the way that they would experience the interference or the effects of that. We generally 3 to 5 miles is where this will probably start being utilized because of our fiber footprint in the area as well.
Okay, thank you. That's everything from council. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing at 8:46 p.m. on both 6.1.2 and 6.2.1. Do I have a mover?
I'd like to move and make a motion to amend the current resolution as it stands.
Sure, I think we have to move in second and then change the motion and then move it again, Mr. CEO, correct?
Yes, well, even before it gets introduced, I believe Councillor Clayton could make the amendments right away, and then you can vote with the new resolution on the table.
Sure, let's do it that way, whatever's easiest. Go ahead, Councillor Clayton.
Okay, so I'd just like to look at some additional conditions for council to review. So these are also on the meeting notes. So in addition to the current ones that are on the resolution right now, the municipality may require, unless it is shown to be unreasonable, modifications to the tower design, including but not limited to visual screening or landscaping that it deems necessary to minimize the aesthetic impact of the tower. That was a concern of some of the ratepayers that were near the tower. No trees will be removed from the site without the permission of the municipality. That was also a concern of some of the ratepayers. The communication tower, it's not in use for a continuous period of 12 months, shall upon notification by the municipality be removed by the holder of this conditional use permit. If the tower is not removed within 60 days of such notification, the municipality may remove the tower at the owner's expense. So we don't want the tower here if it's not going to be in use. Notification must be given to the municipality if changes or additions, approval must be given by the municipality if changes or additions are made to the transmission equipment on the tower. And the last one, if the municipality determines that it is necessary to consult with a third party to ascertain compliance with the standards and conditions of operating a telecommunication tower, all reasonable costs and expenses associated with such consultation shall be borne by the holder of the conditional use permit. So there were some concerns there about safety. We can get into that during the debate, but this would sort of cover an independent study if the municipality felt we need to do that.
So there's a change of motion on the table. Do I need a second, Mr. CEO, to adopt?
You need a mover and a seconder to start the whole debate.
So is he not the mover because he created the motion?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
I thought it was.
Actually, no, we have to open the first one.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
As
Yes.
a rule of order, we can't accept this until we accept the first one.
Yeah, that's what I thought, and then we needed to amend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do I have a mover? Councillor Mamchuk, second. Councillor Boulanger. Councillor Clayton, I believe you had something.
You know what, you're right, and I got it wrong. I was out of order. I apologize. Now I'm reading the email. I apologize. Okay. Do I have to do that again?
I think council can take what you said.
Okay.
Go with it now.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll read the initial resolution.
Right.
And then if there are any amendments, then those need to be moved and seconded and debated and then added to the original resolution.
Perfect.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, so therefore be resolved that conditional use application, and we're dealing with the conditional use first, is approved with the following conditions: that the applicant obtains a building permit from the fire commissioner's office for any construction or renovations to the building. The applicant provides, oh, sorry, I've got the wrong one.
Oh, no.
Sorry, okay.
Yeah.
No wonder it didn't make sense. Okay, therefore be resolved that conditional use application C38-2021 is approved subject to the following conditions. If yard lighting is used, the applicant shall ensure that lighting levels do not cause any disruption or become a nuisance to the neighboring area or affected roadways. 2, any tower, high-density strobing light shall be used only during the daylight hours and red light tower markers during the evening so as to not create nuisance for the neighboring properties. 3, applicant shall maintain the site and surrounding areas in an orderly fashion so it does not become unsightly. 4, applicant shall ensure that any proposed building to be constructed conforms to the applicable building codes, fire codes, health standards, and any other municipal and or provincial permits and federal permits may be required. 5, any signage shall conform to Part 11 of the zoning bylaw. 6, applicant shall obtain a development permit from the RM of Reachot providing construction drawings which will include engineering stamps. Applicant 7, the applicant obtains a variation to vary the height from 49 feet to 195, and the applicant shall provide a signed confirmation letter accepting the terms of the order. There may be site audits conducted to ensure compliance, and a non-compliance may cause revoke of the conditional use at any time. And the red light tower should be a white light, as what we've heard in the presentation.
Okay.
Correct?
White.
So even at night, it's white, not red.
Correct.
Mr. Councilor Clayton, I believe you had something you wanted to say?
I would like to add a few amendments for consideration to those conditional uses.
I'll get you to reread them again, just in case.
Okay, well, I'm well rehearsed now, so let's try this again without the explanation. Okay. The first one, the municipality may require, unless it is shown to be unreasonable, modifications to the tower design, including but not limited to visual screening or landscaping that it deems necessary to minimize the aesthetic impact of the tower. No trees will be removed from the site without the permission of the municipality. Third, the communication tower, if not in use for a continuous period of 12 months, shall, upon notification by the municipality, be removed by the holder of this conditional use permit. If the tower is not removed within 60 days of such notification, the municipality may remove the tower at the owner's expense. The next point, approval must be given by the municipality. Changes or additions are made to the transmission equipment. And the last one, if the municipality determines that it is necessary to consult with a third party to ascertain compliance with the standards and conditions of operating a telecommunications tower, all reasonable costs and expenses associated with such consultation shall be borne by the holder of this conditional use permit.
Thank you, Councilor Clayton. Council, do you want to bring us to debate now, including this amendment or additions?
Would be the second.
Thank you. I need a seconder. Councilor Mamchuk seconds. I'll open up council debate. Anyone wishing to make any comments?
Well, I'll start.
Yeah, for sure.
There are a lot of concerns, and I really feel for the residents. I understand all their concerns. And I feel like I haven't done my part of researching all these repercussions of a tower. I would actually like to have some time, I hate to delay stuff, but to research the long-term effects that internet towers have on the health. Because it seems, and we're hearing one side from the applicant, and then not a lot of strong data from the other. So there's data out there. We're going to get the website. So I would like personally to review this a little bit further, because you're right, I hate 20, 30 years from now, if something health benefits were to happen and they look back at our council and say, we approved this station. That would not sit well with me.
Okay, go ahead.
Rule of order, we're just discussing the amendments right now.
Thank you, Deputy
Oh,
Mayor
sorry,
Walsh.
I thought we were discussing the whole,
With the amendments in mind only, let's keep the debate on that. Sorry, that's my fault. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
okay, sorry.
Anyone want to make any comments to Councillor Clayton's changes or additions? I'm good with the additions.
Yes, I'd like to make a comment, they're very good.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, Kate. Now do I have to open
Vote on the amendments. So what Councillor
Okay,
Clayton
so
is proposing.
just for the proposal of the amendments, I will ask all those in favor. Carried, thank you.
So now council can debate the original question with, along Councillor Clayton's carried
Thank
amendment.
you very much. I appreciate it. Very confusing.
My apologies for.
Well, just my apologies as chair. I'm glad we have two Bibles beside me here. CEO and Deputy Mayor Pelletier. Okay, so now we will open up for debate on the whole application.
Can I start by commenting on some of the safety concerns?
Yeah, as long as Councillor Boulanger, you did want to speak originally? Do you want to just wait?
No, I said what I wanted to
Okay.
say, so.
Go ahead,
yeah.
Councillor.
I guess, and I mean, there's a few different layers to this debate, but one of them tonight is regarding safety. And the safety of the tower is regulated by Industry Canada and Health Canada as well. So there's a few points about Safety Code 6, which is what governs the safety of the tower. And this is off of the Government of Canada website. But okay, so regarding the safety limits in the code, so they protect against all established adverse health effects related to the radio frequency EMF, no matter the source. They incorporate large safety margins to provide a significant level of protection for all Canadians, including those working near these sources. They provide protection for people of all ages and sizes from exposure to all forms of radio frequency EMF on a continuous 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week basis. The exposure limits in Safety Code 6 are based on Health Canada research and ongoing review of published scientific studies on potential adverse health effects. They go on to say you are protected from the combined exposure of radio frequency EMF from multiple sources with Safety Code 6 exposure limits in place. Safety Code 6 takes into account the total exposure from all sources of radio frequency EMF in the range of 3 kilohertz to 300 gigahertz. This includes those that may be used in 5G technology, which isn't in place here. And then it goes on to say Safety Code 6 is reviewed on a regular basis to confirm that it continues to provide protection against all known potentially adverse health effects. And then just with respect to fixed wireless towers, this is not the only one in our community. I mean, they're common in our municipality. There's one right now on the arena, close to the school, and there's another one on the main street. There's some discussion about the height of this tower. The tower is starting from the ground level. A lot of times we see towers that are already starting on the top of buildings. So there's something to add there.
I appreciate that, Councillor Clayton. Councillor Boulanger, with what Councillor Clayton says, are you still wishing to table this discussion, or would you like to continue?
No, I'd like to continue, that's great information.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
thank
So I
you.
will not ask if we as a whole table will continue the debate. Anyone else on council wishing to make any comments?
Thanks for the information, Councillor.
Sure. Just another point to add too about the location. When we got into this discussion of bringing fiber optic into our community, we were actually under a state of emergency in a pandemic. We had a community full of people that were working from home who actually couldn't work from home. We had all the school children in their homes who really couldn't connect properly to get their education. So we did move forward with this Valley Fiber project in an expedient manner. You know, there's some debate over whether or not this tower could be put in a location that would be maybe preferable to the citizens on that street, and I understand their concern. I mean, there are things you want in your backyard. One might be a fire pit or a deck or a pool. Nobody wants to have infrastructure put near their homes. The infrastructure we're talking about here is basically right beside the parking lot of the fire hall. And, you know, we understand that, you know, it's a green space that's used by the people. It is actually, you know, municipal property, and it isn't treated like a public park. It is almost like an extension of the property owners' lots. So, you know, they really do benefit in that respect, but it's municipal property, and we know we do need to find other uses for it on occasion. So, I think some of the additions that we've made there regarding the trees and trying to mitigate the loss of them. You know, if there's some fruit trees that were removed, I'm sure the applicant would be more than happy to plant a few new ones that we could grow in the community. So those are my points.
Thank you very much. Any other councillors have any comments, questions, or debate?
The footprint on this thing isn't big at all. As far as safety concerns, as most of you know, my other gig is in the industry, so I've got no safety concerns with this whatsoever. There's just a quick peek on Google. There's 2 towers in town already. We've all got towers in each of our towns. I've got 3 that I can see from my house that I don't see anymore. So I have a hard time saying no with that in mind.
I appreciate that, councillor. Anything else from council before I call for the question? No?
Sorry, I just want to make sure, is there somewhere, and maybe it's there, so excuse my ignorance if it's already been said or written down, but is there somewhere saying that no other cell phone equipment shall be erected on this tower?
Mr. Stewart, do we have that in there? It's just an internet tower, that's all.
I know, but it's a big tower, and there's an opportunity for a cell
Yeah,
company
but
to
you
come
have
in.
to come and
You have to
go
come
to find
to
that, come to our end, so.
That's what I'm just wondering, I just want to make sure that.
It would have to go through Industry Canada,
Yeah.
and it would also, based on the new conditions, it would also have to come to council.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure and clarify
That's
that
fair.
before I go on.
Okay, I'm gonna call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried by vote. Thank you very much. Moving on back to
Number 3.
no, 6, we'll continue the public hearings.
V19.
V19, 6.2.1?
Correct.
V19, 2021 Valley Fiber Ltd, Sand Gas Tower Height. I thought we did both of them. Sorry.
No, you did the conditional use.
You're right, go ahead.
Need a mover, seconder.
Oh, because it's not a public hearing.
We did
It's
it.
closed.
It's closed, thank you. Any mover? Councilor Belanger, second. Councilor Mamchuk.
Therefore, we resolve that variation application V19 is approved subject to the following conditions: that the applicant must obtain the development permit from the RM and Resort office, and 2, that the conditional use C38 to allow telecommunications tower be approved.
Thank you. I'll open up for council discussion, debate, any comments?
I just want to make a comment on the applicant was confused where the 50 feet came from, so I guess this is where it came from. Like it was never
From our own,
requested, but that's where our
bylaws,
bylaw says. So I just want to make sure that the people listening know that that's where, it was never requested at 50.
It was
That's what our bylaw says.
Okay. No, I appreciate that comment. Thank you, Councilor Belanger. Seeing nothing else, I'll call for the question. Councilor Flynn, we're going to say something, sorry.
Nothing.
Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Now we'll go back to 6.1.1 C19-2021 Mohammed Khan 43 Main Street IDC. There is no public hearing for this.
Correct.
So do I need to move in seconder? Or are you reading information?
It's regarding the resolution. Yes, I would need a mover, seconder.
Thank you. Do I have a mover? Councilor Mamchuk, second. Councilor Clayton.
Okay, so therefore be resolved that conditional use application C19 is approved with the following conditions: that the applicant obtains a building permit from the Office of Fire Commissioners for any construction or renovations to the building. 2, that the applicant shall provide copies of the stamped engineer plans. 3, parking on the main street or municipal right-of-way by owners or tenants is strictly prohibited. 4, parking shall comply with the municipal zoning bylaw, section 321. 5, if yard lighting is to be used, the applicant shall ensure lighting levels do not cause any disruption or nuisance to the neighboring area or affected roadways. 6, that the applicant provides a certified engineering building location certificate. 7, that the applicant ensures that all proposed construction conforms to the local Manitoba building codes, family fire codes, health standards, labor laws, and any other municipal and/or provincial permits and approvals as may be required. 8, signage shall comply with the municipal zoning bylaw, part 3, section 29. And 9, that the applicant shall provide a signed confirmation letter accepting the terms of the order. There may be site audits conducted to ensure compliance, and any non-compliance issues may be caused to revoke the conditional use at any time. Just as information for council, this was discussed at their last planning meeting. The public hearing was held back on July 21st, 2021, whereby council had tabled the decision.
That's everything? Thank you. Okay, I'll open up for council discussion, debate. Anyone on council?
We're here to decline this.
Okay, thank you, councillor. Okay, I will call for the question. All those in favor? Okay, opposed?
No, I'm sorry, pardon, I misunderstood.
Declining it? Okay, thank you. That's defeated.
Sorry.
5-0.
5-1, sorry about that.
Okay. And now we're back to regular.
So we still have a public hearing for number 6.3.1, which is the road closing.
I didn't see that. Thank you. 6.3.1, bylaw 14-2021, close Lynn Lane and Grand Point Meadows. Before I open it, if anyone wishes to stay online, you're more than welcome to, but we are done the Valley Fiber application, so feel free to sign off. But you're always welcome to listen to this detailed, exciting stuff we have to offer. I will open this public hearing up at 9:08 p.m. Oh, sorry, Mr. CEO, you didn't read out the information.
Yeah, basically the proposal is to close Lynn Lane in the community of Grand Point as a result of some reorganizational measures by the developer. Notices were sent out as per the Planning Act, and a public hearing is required in order to do the road closure. Thank you. 9:10, we're good.
Okay, is there anyone wishing to speak in favor? No one here is here in person. Anyone wishing to speak in favor online? Okay, no, Jackie's there. Jackie might not have anything to say. That's okay, we'll wait. Anything received in favor?
Nothing received.
Anyone wishing to speak against online? There is no one here in person. Anyone? Sorry, is there anyone on the phone? No? Anything received against?
Nothing received against.
Okay, a final call. Anyone wishing to speak in favor or against, or general comments? Hi, Jackie, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I'm not sure what's going on with my mic here.
That's okay, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry. Just didn't click the right button on this one. Just here to make sure that there's no further questions on this application. The reason for closing Lynn Lane is that we're adjusting the cul-de-sac and extending the lots along the frontage, so we were able to remove a section of road that is no longer functional. It was just it was an extra piece of road that we no longer needed, which allows us to just have a more contiguous development in this particular area. It's a very small section of the road.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Council, do you have any questions for Mrs. Wilkie? No. No? Okay, thank you, Jackie. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any final comments, online, in person, on the phone? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing at 9:10 PM. Do I have a mover? Councillor Clayton, second. Councillor Pelletier.
Be it resolved that council gives second reading to bylaw 14/2021, being a bylaw to close Lynn Lane and Grand Point Meadows.
Open up for council discussion. Anything to add? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried by vote. Thank you. I would like to go into the bylaw for this first, and then we can go back to item 2. Is that okay? Council's okay with just continuing on and then going back up? Sure. Mr. Shield, reading
7.2, third reading.
Yes, exactly. 7.2, bylaw 14-2021, close Lynn Lane and Grand Point Meadows, third reading. Do I have a mover? Councillor Belanger, second. Councillor Mamchuk. Any final comments? Call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Moving up to item 3, adoption of the minutes. Do I have a mover? Councillor Clayton, second. Councillor Mamchuk. Thank you.
Last regular council meeting was held December 7th, whereby we received a delegation regarding possible Southeast Water Co-op. We also discussed the auditing services for the years 2021 to 2024, as well as the Dutch elm disease program was awarded, and we also appointed the screening officer for our MBEA, Manitoba Bylaw Enforcement Act.
You, any questions from council? Comments? Here. Okay, call for the question. All those in favor? That is carried. 4, committee reports and minutes. Do I have a mover? Councillor Mamchuk, second. Councillor Clayton.
Only one report committee was submitted by Councillor Manchuk in regards to the same Roseville Watershed District and the conference in Brandon, I believe. Notes have been submitted.
I appreciate that. I'll just add something while the planning officer's here, Councillor Belanger. Was there any formal notes sent on for the WMR Plan 2050 working group or nothing, Tanya? Any formal notes? Did they give us anything, like a recap of what went on, any minutes or anything? No? Okay, maybe I'll have to do something else so the rest of council can see it. I'll drop something up and send it in. If you're okay with that, Councillor Belanger? Okay. Okay, thanks. Councillor Pelletier?
2-minute break.
Sure, after we vote on this. Okay, we got a call for the question. Hold on a second, Councillor.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. I'll ask for a 2-minute break. Council's okay with that? I apologize, guys. It wasn't on my A game. That was a very confusing public hearing.
This conference will now be recorded.
We are going to item, good evening again, Merry Christmas to all. We are back in session here. We are going to 5.1, accounts not paid to be approved at 9:16 PM. Do I have a mover? Councillor Pelletier, second. Councillor Belanger.
3 batches in the queue of not paid yet. The biggest one being batch 15543 in the amount of just over 1.1 million. Due to the schools and our second remittance, this is about 800,000, which represents 91.2% of the batch. The rest are in the CFO's notes to council.
Thank you, Mr. Shield. I'd ask you to get to the third number after the decimal next time, please.
46.
I'm just kidding. Any other comments or questions from council? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried 5-1. Thank you. 5.2, council indemnities. Do I have a mover? Councillor Pelletier, second. Councillor Mamchuk.
Indemnities for council for the month of December range from 8 hours to 38 hours, pending those that attended the conference. Otherwise, pretty standard.
Perfect. I'll open up for council comments. Council, do you have anything to add? Okay, call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried by vote. 5.3, payroll to be approved. Do I have a mover? Councillor Clayton, second. Councillor Belanger.
This is in regards to payroll 25 as well as the quarterly 4 for the fire departments. In regards to payroll 25, the Public Works Department has been quiet regarding bank time and overtime. However, a little bit of a different story for administration, recreation planning, and EDO have been busy this last few months,
Good.
as you will see in the building report.
Excellent. Open for council discussion. Nothing. Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? It's carried. 5.4 interim operating budget. Do I have a mover? Councillor Belanger, second. Councillor Clayton, this is budget 2022.
Correct. In regards to budget 2022, we need to have an interim budget in place, otherwise we cannot spend a dime. So what we've done is we basically just guesstimate dollar amount that would hold us till about June, whereby hopefully by then the real budget is adopted.
Thank you.
Yes, it will be.
June? Okay.
Councillor Pelton, did you have something you wanted to say?
I'm looking forward to this, taking us until February when we're gonna have the budget done.
So February 5th is what you're looking for.
The end of February.
End of February. Thank you.
In discussions with some of our neighbors, notably La Brokerie on BM last weekend, they're done their budget. So I would like to see a little bit of movement before June. So this is achievable.
Thank you, Councillor Pelche. I appreciate that. And I'm sure the CEO has noted that and put it on paper. And circled it. Yeah. Okay, any other comments or questions? No, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried. Now we're jumping, I believe, all the way to 9.1.1, 4165-21-8026 Weems-1 lot residential. Do I have a mover? Councillor Mamchuk, second. Councillor Pelche.
This is in regards to property along River Lots 217-218, discussed at the planning meeting. Recommendation is to move forward with the subdivision.
Thank you. Open up for council discussion. Councillors, do you have anything to add?
Nothing on this one.
No. Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried 5-0. 9.2.1, 2022 John Deere loader 544P. Do I have a mover? Councillor Mamchuk, second. Councillor Clayton.
I believe this was discussed at the Public Works level. Request to purchase a John Deere loader with payments of leasing for the first 8 months until the unit can be purchased.
Thank you. Open up for council discussion. Council? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried. 9.3.1 Development Agreement Max Pro Properties Inc. 359 Duplo Drive. Do I have a mover? Councillor Belanger, second. Councillor Pelche.
Council approved a conditional use for this property, and part of the conditional use required a development agreement. Our planning expert has drafted up a development agreement in this regards. Council has a copy of that, and she is available to answer any questions you may have regarding the development agreement.
Thank you. Council, any other questions or comments? Any debate on this development agreement?
Was there any concerns from the applicant on this one?
No.
And you're good?
And the lawyers have reviewed it and.
Awesome. And you're good, Councillor Pelche? Yeah. Thank you. Okay, I'll call for the question. All of those are in favor. That's carried. Thank you. 5-0. 9.3.2 TC Energy lease renewal. Do I have a mover? Councillor Belanger, second. Councillor Clayton.
The current lease agreement with the TC Energy building as a whole comes to expiration December 31st, 2021. In review with the TC Energy Board, they are in favor of renewing the agreement pretty much as is. There's a few minor changes as far as dates go. Basically, the comment is don't fix what ain't broken. So recommendation is to proceed as past agreements. with the exception of the audit fees to be covered by the municipality.
Thank you. All the council discussion, we're good? Any debate? None. I'll call for the question. All those in favor? 5-0 carried. 9.3.3, November 2021 building permit reports. Do I have a mover? Councillor Mamchuk, second. Councillor Pelletier.
For the month of November, 23 permits were issued, total value of 6.5 million, total fees brought in just over 17,000, which brings us up to date of 259 permits, 73 million in value, with the total fees brought in of just over 221,000.
In a month.
No, total.
For the year.
Sorry, we said for the month of November.
Planning, we're busy, but not that busy.
I just want to say, officially, we have doubled what we did in 2020.
Yeah.
So
It looks like there's more on the horizon.
that's great to see with the communities and municipalities as a whole. Great job to the admin for making sure that this continues to go smooth.
Good work.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Losing our street building inspector with the Arm of Hanover, so the Arm of Hanover, to yours, we do wish you our deepest sympathy, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
Anything, I guess we have to approve the building permit reports. All those in favor, sorry. That's carried. Tongue twisted there. I think that's it. 12, adjournment. Do I have a mover? Councillor Boulanger, second. Councillor Clayton, we were lagging with Wi-Fi there.
Oh wait, I'm not at home.
Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. I'll end the meeting at 9:25 p.m. Please, good night, everyone. Happy holidays. See you in 2022.
Happy holidays.
Stop recording.
Happy holidays.